Hey y'all, it's Doug coming to you from Alaska. I ain't gonna be on the show, but the big dudes in the trenches is still happening. Watch this; it's gonna be good. Peace.
That's right. You heard Doug correctly there. He is, joining us briefly from Alaska. And if you're still with us, if you're still listening, and you are just an audio listener, it is I, Bug, here, alone and unafraid. Uh, long and short of this, if you're watching live or if you're wondering why this is late, it's because I'm recording this at 11:30 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday. So a day late, a day late. I had a work trip, and just say things went very differently than I thought they would, as far as how my night was gonna shake out for that. So unable to go last night. Doug is also on a work trip. It's a little, or sorry, Tug is also on a work trip. It's a little bit longer of a trip. Uh, so they, yeah, Doug was on a work trip last week too. So we're working through some of the logistics of it. Tug is fighting his computer, and if he can join us, he'll join us. If not, no big deal. We'll get through it. And we're just gonna do a quick rundown. I unfortunately am still on a weird shift where I don't get to watch a lot of these games, but I do know how to read a score. I do know how to look at a box score as well. So we'll try and dissect a little bit of what happened there if it's a game that I care deeply about. And some of these I do, some of them I don't. Just how it is. But without further ado, let's get back into the rules here for the BDT Pick'em. We're picking every ranked game, both FBS and FCS. That's according to the AP poll and eventually the College Football Playoff Committee. And then moving on to the FCS, taking in the Stats Perform Top 25 poll. Every matchup that is a rivalry, we will pick, although the priority will be given to if it is a top 25 matchup, which is an important thing to note because it happens on the very first slide this week, I do believe, in the FCS level. We each also have 3 additional games per week to pick: one FBS, one FCS, and one wild card game, anything we want. Then we get into our bonus point territory. Obviously, we get points for picking correctly, but we can get an additional bonus point for picking 2 of 3 good games, 2 additional bonus points for picking 3 of 3 good games. And if we pick 3 stinkers, well, we take that as an extra loss. Good game is subjective. If we can't agree, it will go to a poll at Big Dudes in the Trenches on X. Tug looks like he's backstage. Looks like maybe we've gotten this figured out. So it's perfect time to bring him in. Let's see how it works.
Bro,
Welcome, my friend.
I hate everything right now.
I'm sure all the beer is helping your understanding of what's going on too.
No, so what ended up happening is it wasn't letting me scroll through the servers on Discord. It would let me scroll through conversations, but not through the servers. And then Facebook is just like, hey, you need 2-factor authentication. Okay. So I authenticated it on my phone. It's like, yeah, but no. So it wouldn't let me on there either. I'm just having a grand old time down here in Montgomery, Alabama.
It'll work itself out. It'll be fine.
Nah, I'm sure.
But
I left like 5. Yeah, actually, I left probably close to 10 servers on Discord. So, hopefully I'm not needed there.
I mean, I've got no issues doing this. So
I don't either. It just frustrated me in the situation.
Well, I'm saying like everything's working for me. I'm on the app though. I don't know if maybe that's your problem. Either way, let's get into what our records are going in here. Tug currently is in first place, although
no,
I'm very confused what the math is here because somehow I picked.
Don't ask questions
games.
you don't want the answer to. I don't understand it. I should be the one with the most games because I'm, as far as I know, the only one with the bonus point. But somehow you are ahead of everybody, and
I don't know what happened here. So we're gonna have to go back and re-verify some records.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on here. The one thing we do know is that Doug is in last place, and
Yeah,
Tug and
facts.
myself are very close in a battle for first. I'm unsure where the math broke down here, but we'll figure it out.
I'm with you.
And I think regardless of whatever is going on, I think I take the lead this week by the end of it. Spoiler alert.
Let's get into the games before we talk about that.
Yeah, so the AP and stats perform, as we already mentioned. We're starting with our top 25 matchups. And in the first game, we had Weber State, number 9 at the FCS level, taking on number 12 Utah. And let's be real, we all knew this was probably going to be an easy game for Utah. But quite frankly, Weber State, I feel like they did better than a lot of people were expecting them to, even just getting 7 points on the board.
No, 100%. This was actually a really good game for what it should have been. Actually, I would argue that 2 of these 3 games were really good games. But again, when you give me an AP ranked FBS top 25 versus a stats perform top 25 ranked FCS, I'm going to take the FBS every time. It's been a 1,000% hitter this entire year, and we're going to keep that going with UCLA against NC Central. And it wasn't even close. This next game was the one bad game, I would say.
Yeah, and it kind of just does show how big the gap can be at times. I mean, it was number 24 UCLA versus number 17 NC Central in Los Angeles. But UCLA dominates this one 59-7. It should I would have expected this from the Utah Weber State game as well, except for the fact that I think there's a lot more disparity between number 9 and number 17 in the FCS than there is in the FBS.
Well, and additionally, Utah's still missing, as far as I know, they're still missing their QB1, which is a big factor.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's great to see UCLA putting up this type of offense as well, because again, it's not like NC Central's any slouch here. And I'm fully in the camp that college football is better when UCLA is good. So that brings us to our third and final ranked matchup. We had number 15 Southern Illinois heading to Cape Girardeau to take on number 13 SEMO, Southeast Missouri State.
Also a rivalry game.
The war for the wheel. And last year, SEMO had to battle back late. SIU gave up the game late. It was kind of a theme for the Salukis the rest of the season. But this year, they're able to turn the tables and battle back and get that late score to take the win, 26-25, stunning the Red Hawks at home. The bigger story here for SIU is that this is the first time since 2004 that they've started 3-0. Maybe it's 2014. That spells a lot of good things for the Salukis, especially after where their struggles were last year, finishing games out. And they absolutely did it in this one.
No, 100%. And this is what I was looking for in this game, was to see if the Salukis finished it out. What I had seen in week 1 and week 2 told me they could. They did. This is huge and another big step forward for the Missouri Valley Football Conference, which is already far and away the best conference in the FCS, at least in my opinion. Look, the top end is really good. The middle end is maybe mediocre at best, or at worst, I should say. And even the bottom end of the MVFC is really in that mediocre range. So now you take one of those middle teams, you're adding them up into that top end tier. This is dangerous for the MVFC. You could be looking at 3, 4, maybe 5 teams going to the playoffs this year from that one conference alone.
Not only was SEMO the home team, not only were they Doug's pick, reminder, we're the higher seed in this game, likely still a favorite to win the Ohio Valley Conference. This was a huge win for the Dogs and hopefully a sign of things to come this season.
Absolutely.
That does bring us to quite a great segue here, ending with a ranked-on-ranked rivalry. We get into the rest of the rivalry matchups from this past weekend, and we're going to start off in Maryland with Virginia facing off against the Terrapins.
Look, this slide is going to be very generous to me. I lose this first one. But this slide will be actually decently generous to me based off of one call I made. Maryland, Virginia. Virginia came out hot. Virginia went up 14-0, and that was all the points Virginia could score, and then Maryland put it away after that. Virginia this year has a tendency to come out hot. Maryland has a tendency to start cold and then warm up. That is a very dangerous method of attack for Maryland moving forward into the Big Ten Conference. And Virginia just needs to learn to put a full game together and not just play the first quarter.
Yep. And Maryland, while they gave up a 14-0 lead, would go on to score 45 unanswered, win this one, or 42 unanswered rather, and win 42-14.
Yep.
Doug and I's pick, we were golden there. While Tug, you took Virginia for some reason.
Hey, I took it for the chance, and it looked good to start. They gave me false hope.
And the next game, I always chuckle a little bit when I see ranked rivalry or rivalry matchups that are FBS versus FCS, just because I know back in the day they were equals, and now that's simply not the case. Look, the battle for the Blue Key victory bell between Indiana State and Ball State probably was a great rivalry at some point, but Ball State's not a good team now, and they still beat the Sycamores 45-7.
I'm upset because I had gone in, and I guess this is the one slide I missed where I put all the scores in there.
All right, people that are listening don't know.
Yeah, no, that's
do.
fair. No, 100%. And I agree with you. This is it's a one-sided rivalry at this point, and even hell, 10 years ago, you probably could have said this was relatively even, but Ball State has been making good contributions and progressing their program.
Absolutely. And then, Indiana State, sorry, thanks for playing. Maybe you'll get a win. Last year, this team, I think, had a couple of big upsets, and then this year, it's just, I mean, this is embarrassing. I feel bad for them. I really do. Next up, we have the Mid-America Classic. Illinois State traveling to Charleston to take on Eastern Illinois. And Eastern Illinois would win this one because we had a college kicker situation with 4:04 left in the fourth quarter. Illinois State breaks the 7-7 tie with a 12-yard touchdown run from Mason Blakemore, but then would miss the kick. With 30 seconds left in the game, Eastern Illinois finds the answer on a 25-yard pass from Justin Thomas to Pierce Holly. They make the kick. They win the game. I mean, that's got to be gut-wrenching.
Welcome to college football. That is the best I can say about this, is welcome to college football. That's how this goes.
College kicker moments all the time, baby.
Happens.
Moving on to some more rivalries.
This is the start of some very, very ugly slides for us. I'm not going to lie.
It could be worse. Hampton at Howard, the real HU. Will you please stand up? It's not Howard. It's not Howard.
It's not
Howard.
It
was a close one. It was a close one. 35-34. Hampton won this one. However, we got skunked, and it's not the only time we're going to get skunked. Get used to
No,
this.
that's what I mean. This is the start of a very bad slide deck for us.
Yeah, this slide's fine. The next one was Tulane at Southern Miss, the battle for the bell. Southern Miss just has not improved. Really, in about 5 years, they've really stagnated. Tulane, on the other hand, has taken a dumpster fire of a team to winning the Cotton Bowl last year and looking very competitive again this season. They win this one easily, 21-3.
Yep.
Next up, we have Dartmouth taking on number 11 at the FCS level, New Hampshire, in the Granite Bowl. UNH dominates this one, 24-7. In and out pretty quick.
UNH looks really good this year. They've been improving. They look good last year. They look really good this year. And I expect that to continue throughout the year. Dartmouth has not been a good team, and I also expect that to continue.
I think everybody does. Next up,
your
this
favorite
one,
slide. This has to be your favorite slide.
this one, there's a lot of gratitude coming here for all of our audio listeners that don't know what he's talking about. But our first rivalry matchup was the South Carolina Gamecocks taking on number 1 Georgia in Georgia. And honestly, they gave Georgia fits. This was something that you alluded to last week.
Thank you. Yep.
And I'll give it to you. However, it didn't matter. Georgia still won this one 24-14.
Yep.
Spencer Radler had some issues, and the defense for Georgia was ultimately able to one, they caused those issues, and they were able to overcome their own shortcomings. Georgia's still looking great.
Look, I don't know what it is about South Carolina, Georgia, but South Carolina always makes Georgia rethink their game plan, readjust, and reattack. I don't know what it is about this South Carolina team that always forces Georgia to rethink everything they're doing, but it happens what seems like every single year.
Absolutely. Next up, we have number 11 Tennessee going down to the swamp to take on Florida, who has not had a good season thus far. They've looked very, very bad. And it was the third Saturday of a month, so Florida.
So Tennessee has a rivalry game.
Yeah, and it happened to be Florida this week, and
Tennessee wishes it wasn't Florida this week.
Yeah, I don't understand why y'all take Tennessee. Why you have faith in them?
Click again. I missed one.
You are so bad at.
I missed one. Fucking deal with it.
Oh, it makes me so happy. We also had a fight break out at the end of this because Tennessee decided they wanted to try and fight. I don't.
Tennessee's quarterback is lucky he was not the one that was suspended out of the 4 players that were. He very well could have been after squaring up with a Florida defensive lineman, which for both of them, you're wearing helmets.
He had no reason to be on the fucking field in the first place. That's what I don't understand.
Even worse. That's even worse. I agree with you. But you're wearing helmets. Stop squaring up like you're going to throw haymakers at each other. That would be dumb.
I don't understand why. I don't understand how the players involved got out. What's Tennessee's quarterback? Who's their quarterback this year? Joe Milton.
Yeah, that's it.
What?
I kept wanting to say Mackenzie Milton, but I knew that wasn't right.
I don't know. I don't understand. I don't understand why he was used on the field.
I don't either. I do not either.
Anyway, Tennessee wins this one. I'm happy. You're sad because you took Tennessee for some reason. I don't want to talk about Miami versus Cincinnati, the Battle of the Bell.
Miami, you can talk about it all you want.
And won this. They won this one 31-24. Are we hitting the panic button if we're Cincinnati fans here?
Not necessarily. I mean, they're in the Big 12, sure. They should not have been expecting a conference championship this year. And if they were mistaken. I don't know what to expect from them. You don't hit the panic button. You go and ride out the season, see where you're at, get a good evaluation.
Yeah, we got skunked here. Doug took Tennessee as well, so he's big sad about that Tennessee Florida game. And then last but not least, the backyard brawl went exactly the opposite way we thought we would. We all took Pitt.
Pitt.
And West Virginia hosting. I mean, I feel like that played a huge role in this game.
I think that was the deciding factor, believe it or not. And I say that because Pitt is a much better team than a 6-point team. Like, I have seen it this year alone.
Yeah. And West Virginia
had to be a road.
Yeah, they just dominated. It was 17-6 at as a final score there, and it looked like West Virginia was really in control the entire game.
Yep. I concur all the way across.
So it's very, very interesting to me. But
Yep.
that's rivalries, and that's why we love them. Because how much do we love them? Enough that we got 3 more rivalries for you. We don't get skunked here. Stephen F. Austin versus Northwestern State, battle for Chief Caddo.
We
Stephen
win
F.
this one.
Austin, yeah, they dominated 41-7. That moves us straight on into the Rio Grande rivalry, New Mexico at New Mexico State. And New Mexico State wins this one 27-17.
I
Fair
think that
enough
was
that
a
you don't want to get
much better game than people expected. I don't know.
yeah, I'm surprised New Mexico was able to score more than 7 points. I'll admit that. I will say though, I respect you not wanting to get skunked on this one because you just don't trust New Mexico State. I think that's fair too.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's exactly what that was. I wanted to have some fun, pick the Lobos, give some other analysis there, and it is what it is. Sometimes you got to take the L to make the dub.
So I will say this next one, the one everybody was talking about and is still talking about, number 18 Colorado at Colorado State, the Rocky Mountain Showdown. This game went so late that I got to see a lot of it, including both overtimes, as well as the game-tying drive for Colorado, who would win this one 43-35 in double overtime. There's a lot of people that are trying to insert Shedeur Sanders in front of in the front of the Heisman conversation because of this. And there's still people trying to talk about Travis Hunter being in the Heisman conversation after this game. Here's the problem. If either of those guys were true Heisman candidates, in my mind, they don't let this become a 43-35 double overtime game.
I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to stop you
thing
there. Travis Hunter went out in the second quarter in that game after a cheap shot. If anybody's got, and this is where I kind of fell the entire time on the Colorado Heisman candidate guy. Travis Hunter is him. And I don't mean that in the colloquial sense. I mean, if there is a guy on the Colorado roster that is a Heisman candidate, it is Travis Hunter. Do not get me wrong. Shedeur Sanders is good. But watching what happened to that offense after Travis Hunter went down speaks volumes to what Travis Hunter brings to that offense. And not only that offense, but that defense, even if they were having a bad game to that point. I will say Shedeur Sanders is a Heisman. It's worth the conversation. He is not a Heisman candidate, in my opinion. Travis Hunter is.
The only thing that kind of swings it a little bit into Shedeur Sanders' favor is that he was able to clutch up at the end of the game. But again, I go back to he shouldn't have allowed this game to get to this point. Colorado State's not a fucking good team.
No, they're not. They are better than what they have been. I think we undervalued them. Their defense is actually a lot better than people expected. And again, this comes back to my one thing about why I am not a fan of Colorado being, and I will tip my hat here to later this week. I'm going to pick Colorado to lose to Oregon. I'm telling you that right now. Why am I doing that? Colorado is a one-dimensional offense. They can only pass the ball. If you make them run the ball, you will beat them. That is what Colorado State did, is they shut down the pass to the best of their ability and tried to force Colorado to run the ball. And they almost beat them. Now, you do that with a team like Oregon, and this game is entirely different. Colorado skates away with this one. They get out of it. I'm picking Oregon next week. I'll tell you right now.
I can't remember exactly the order here, so I had to pull it up. They've got Colorado, they've got Oregon, USC, Arizona State,
win,
Stanford, and then UCLA, Oregon State.
Loss.
Yeah, it's not. It's
barring anything changing. That is what my picks will be. Like, I am telling everyone right now. Loss, win, loss.
And I think they'll still get bowl eligibility because they do have Arizona and Washington State They
I mean,
close out the season against you at Utah, though. I mean, this is not going to be. It's going to be
hard.
fun, but it's about to lose its luster real fast because they're going
And
to get exposed these next
Well,
2 weeks.
especially when you consider that Travis Hunter is out at least 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And my guess is that's broken ribs based on the hit that I saw. I am not a medical doctor, but based on the hit that
Well,
I
and the
saw,
problem is nobody even knows if that's when it happened. You know
well,
that.
and we never will because in
Yeah.
college they don't have to report it the same way that the NFL does.
Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe we're completely fucking wrong. Let us know if you think we are. There's plenty of ways to get to us. Find us on
Absolutely.
X. Find us on Instagram. Send us an email. Whatever floats your boat. We got more games to talk about, though, so we're going to do that. These games, however, are all the games that we picked. And as is tradition, I go first, and I picked 3 losers. Virginia Tech at Rutgers. I picked Virginia Tech. They got fucking smoked. Somehow, Doug saw that coming. Here's something none of us saw coming. D2 Utah Tech beating Northern Arizona
It's
at Northern
because you
Arizona.
talk shit about their fight song.
It probably fucking is, which is bullshit. I also saw the end of the BYU Arkansas game. Here's what happened here. BYU wins 38-31. Arkansas had a tackle go down at the start of the drive. They then had 3 or 4. Utah Tech is UAC. Okay, I feel a little bit better now. I swore I read that they were D2. I trusted
No.
Wikipedia. I was wrong.
No, they're UAC. And I told you that last week.
I'm sure you did. It's been a long weekend.
It's been a long week. I got you. You're good.
Very recently D2. So yeah, Wikipedia wasn't updated. They fucked me. They never fucked me in college, but they fucked me now. BYU got lucky that Arkansas loses one offensive tackle on the final drive, who's then replaced by somebody who can't help but hold and commit false start penalties. There is then a second injury on that offensive line. They have 2 backup tackles in there. KJ Jefferson, when they decided they were going to pass rush, when they decided they were going to bring more than 3 people, he had no time to throw the ball. And ultimately, that's how the game ends. A forward pass as he's getting sacked. It's ruled an illegal catch, illegal contact because the lineman caught it because he was just trying to get the ball out. He pitches it back. Looks like maybe Arkansas is going to do something with it. It doesn't matter anyway.
Yep.
They fought till the very end, and despite all the penalties, they were still in a very good position to win.
Look,
there was an additional false start penalty that pushed them back from the 13 to the 23 for that final play. Do I think that changes the end result? No, but it definitely changed kind of their chances at it. This was a very good game, though.
So looking at this is a very ugly slide for us. I think there was one good game you picked, and I'm really happy you picked it because look, we needed a Pigs game. We did. And that was the good game, in my personal opinion. It was hard fought. It could have gone either way. Unfortunately, it did not go with the Pigs, as is tradition with us. But I thought it was a really good game.
I can't wait to pick 3 more games and get them all wrong again next week. But the flip side of this is I don't think I did that with Doug's games because he went with Holy Cross, number 6 Holy Cross at Yale. And, when you're playing a team and it's their first week playing a game, you've got a big advantage. And when you're a ranked team, that advantage is even bigger. They won 49-24 over Yale. We then have another
Upset.
Another
okay.
upset and another FCS matchup.
So I'm
Number
going to go
19
in before we get too far into this. I think we need to rethink how we think about Southeastern Louisiana. They are 0-3 on the season.
And still number 19.
Not anymore. This was last week. But I don't know. I don't think they are what we or what Stats Perform thought they were. It's still an ugly game. but I think we need to rethink how we, as the podcast, think about Southeastern Louisiana because they are not it this year.
I mean, their first 2 games were against Mississippi State and South Alabama. Now, as much as I want to sit here and go on about how South Alabama's not good, they should beat an FCS school.
Well, and South Alabama just shit on Oklahoma State
Yeah.
on the road.
There you go. They're really 0-1 when you
That's
get down
fair.
to it. They played 2 money
Oh,
games.
okay, fair.
Yeah.
Either
I
way, we got
agree.
skunked on it.
I agree with Doug here. We need to rethink how we think about Eastern Washington, which is we should, in fairness, have thought about them differently to begin with, because I feel like that red turf is more of a home field advantage than the blue turf will ever be.
Hold on. We definitely military pendulum swung on this because we were all high on Eastern Washington. They had one bad game and we all pendulum swung the other way. So there's definitely something to this, and maybe we could think about both teams a little bit differently than how we have been.
Eastern Washington, of course, won this one 40-29, as we've kind of been dancing around there. And last but not least, Syracuse at Purdue. You took Purdue. Doug and I took Syracuse. And they won this one 35-20. Yeah, I'm with Doug on this. I don't remember ever being high on EW. So, I don't know.
I thought we were higher on them in the preseason. Like
I
when we were
think your
talking about
friend
the Big
Sam
Sky.
Adams was high on you, or high on him.
I'm not on Sam Adams tonight, so details.
Point being, I laughed when you took Purdue, not because I thought it was a bad pick, but I felt like you just took it because you're like, oh, somebody has to take Purdue when Purdue is playing.
No, I took it because I thought there's no way Purdue loses at home twice.
What a weird statement to make.
This was an ugly slide for me.
Yeah, none of us. Doug did the best picking his own games this week.
I was gonna say this was an ugly week for me. I went 12-13 on the week.
I'm gonna say Doug. Did he have a good game? Was Syracuse Purdue a good game? We didn't talk about that. I feel like that's the only one that has potential to be a good game.
And I think it was. I got to look at when Syracuse pulled away. That's gonna be a factor for me. Of hey, was it a 1-score game and they scored in garbage time to go up 2? Let me look at that. If Doug responds to me first, let me know.
He might, but at the same time, I mean, this was only a 2-possession game at the end here. Syracuse put 14 on the board in the fourth quarter. I would say that's where they pulled away and took this one.
That's my assumption as well.
He also believes that Cuse Purdue was good. Yeah, this was not a matter of Purdue scoring a garbage time touchdown. This was Syracuse just putting it away at the end of the game.
And that's what I assumed, and that's why I was leaning towards going into this that was the good game. That's why I didn't even think about it. But yeah, I was leaning towards, and I'm A-okay calling Syracuse Purdue a good game.
And we had another missed field goal. That's why Purdue had 20 instead of 21. Their fourth quarter touchdown featured a missed extra point as well. That's the second time we've noticed that here today.
Good.
That takes us to your games. Robert Morris went to number 25 Youngstown State, and the Penguins win that one 48-28.
That's how that goes. We were wondering if Robert Morris could step forward and kind of show us again. We were talking about them a little bit as a higher end of the CAA this year. They are not that, and they just keep showing that week in and week out. I'm happy to see Youngstown State succeeding again. Another one of those teams. They're Ohio Valley that are kind of sitting near the top of their conference and have a chance to take it. Or I always mix this up. Are they Ohio Valley or Missouri Valley?
99% sure they're Missouri Valley.
Okay. Either way, if that's the case, then they're another team in the Missouri Valley that has a chance to.
They are, in fact, Missouri Valley.
Yeah, I did that last week where I said they were Ohio Valley, and I thought I corrected myself, and I absolutely did not. Either
I
way.
think I did it last week.
Well, no, because I had asked and you said yes because you heard Valley and assumed I had said the right thing.
Either way, the school in Ohio should not be in the Missouri Valley, and the school in Missouri should not be in the Ohio Valley. But that's the world we live in. Thanks, conferences.
Well, the deal with it is they're another one of those teams that are in the middle of the Missouri Valley that we would have always considered mediocre that are now fighting for a playoff spot. And when I say they're in the middle of the Missouri Valley Conference, they are in about the dead middle in terms of talent of the Missouri Valley, and they just keep progressing based on the talent that they're playing against, honestly. So I am not surprised to see that Youngstown State took this by almost 3 scores.
It was by 3 scores. It was a 20-point victory. Our next game that you picked here, Tug, Florida International at UConn.
Thank you for avoiding the fucking skunk.
I didn't want to let UConn skunk us. That's really all it came down to.
So here's the deal, too. This is another team that I think we need to reconsider how we think about. Because I believe, and I'm looking up as we speak.
Who, FIU or UConn?
FIU is currently 3-1 on the season.
Mm-hmm.
This team is much better than we had expected them to be. And UConn had looked good, which is why I think Doug and I bit off on them. But FIU is significantly better than we expected them to be. Their only loss this year is in week 0 by 5 points to Louisiana Tech. Now, granted, they only beat Maine by 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
But they've been winning by 5 and 7. So they're increasing their margin of victory every week. But FIU is, I won't say significantly, but they are at least better than what we had expected. And I think that's why they pulled this one out and why Doug and I are upset right now.
So let's consider this. Connecticut's offense is not very good. This is the most points they scored. They were consistently scoring 14. Their defense has been their strength, which is not saying a ton because they still allowed Georgia State to score 35 on them, but they only gave up 24 to NC State and 24 again this week. If they can get that offense going, yeah, sure, 100% I'd be right there with you getting behind them. And as far as FIU goes, yeah, only beating Maine by 2, not a great look. It seems like they have gotten things together a little bit, but I question how big these wins against North Texas and Connecticut are. It seems like maybe North Texas is another team we needed to reconsider. I've been very high on the Mean Green for a couple years. I have to get eyes on one of their games to actually see, hey, what's going on here? Why are they not playing as good as I was thinking they would? But that one was a high scoring game. Could have really gone either way. That was 39 to 46. So it's definitely worth keeping an eye on both FIU and UConn, and maybe we need to flip the script on them a little bit. But I would definitely say it is way too early to make any type of determination on that.
No, 100%. It's just we had all discounted FIU to begin the year. Now I will ask this: looking at it, in my opinion, having watched the UNC Minnesota game, this is the one I have to redeem myself. Bug and Doug, if you're listening to me, do you guys consider FIU UConn a good game before we get into the UNC Minnesota game?
Why are you asking before we get to the UNC Minnesota game?
Because again, that is, as far as I'm concerned, the one game that has a chance.
I
don't necessarily think that UNC Minnesota was a good game. I think UNC handled their business. They did everything they needed to. They showed me that they can still be relatively consistent, even if they were inconsistent, which was my one concern going into this game. So that's why I'm asking, based on the game, we were talking about it, would you guys have considered that a good game?
It's just bewildering to me still that you took Minnesota when they struggled to beat Nebraska. You took them to beat number 20 North Carolina on the road.
Yeah, North Carolina struggled to beat
I'm
Appalachian State.
still
This is, to me,
we talked about what the issue with Appalachian State is.
I'm still going to be concerned about it. I'm sorry. That's just, I expected inconsistency. And I have a team that I know is consistently mediocre versus a team that is sporadically good and also sporadically trash. That was my concern.
I would without. Did you actually watch any of the FIU UConn game?
I did not see too much of it. I was traveling. I'll be honest with you.
Looking at the breakdown of this, FIU, it looks. I'm not sure if they just went super conservative or if UConn's defense stepped up in the second half. They got shut out in the second half, and UConn put up 14 points.
Ooh,
There were no turnovers in this game, and UConn only won the possession battle by 5 minutes. So it's not like there was just absolute utter domination anywhere. I feel like UConn, if UConn had another quarter, they would have at least tied this, maybe pulled, gone and won the whole thing. But getting skunked in the second quarter really put them behind the 8 ball there. Yeah, sure. This was a good game. There's no reason to even start talking about it not being a good game, in my opinion.
Fair enough. And no, yeah, UConn handled not UConn, UNC handled their business. 31-13 against Minnesota. You guys were right. I was a little ballsy for taking Minnesota. I took a lot of risks this week that maybe I should not have, and we're about to see that in the next slide.
Yeah, so again, we've got to go and double check these scores and figure out what exactly it is. But I won this week by a decent amount.
Yeah, you were 17-8 this week. I was 12-13, and Doug was 15-10. Doug and I are even when you add up the total games, which makes sense because we both had a +1, but somehow you are like 3 games ahead of us.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. I should be 1 game behind both of you. So we'll go figure out what the hell happened.
To explain it, what happened this week, why I am not stonks ahead of Doug, this is fine, even though I have a better record, was simply that
you did worse
had a
this week.
worse record on the week. Yeah.
So congrats on, I mean, at least you got some of your own games correct, even if it was just one, whereas I got literally none of them right.
Bro, we had one correct on your slide for all 3 of us.
It was a rough day.
It was.
As always, we have Doug's players to watch here, and this week it was the WKU quarterback, Austin Reed. He had to go play at the Shoe.
I honestly thought he played really well at the Shoe. I thought that, now granted, I was impressed by Ohio State's pass defense in this air raid attack, but even still, I thought he did fairly well, having about 200 yards, going 1-1. Not much more you can expect from Western Kentucky against Ohio State at the Shoe. I thought Austin Reed played as well as about we could have expected that he should.
Yeah, 107 passer rating, 75 QBR, and almost a 60% completion percentage, just over 200 yards, like you mentioned. This was his first interception on the season too. If you're unable to see our graphic here, he's going to be great for Western Kentucky. They're going to likely win Conference USA again, and it's going to be largely because of his play. Where do I think this, sets him up for the draft? I'm not sure. Potentially a late round guy for a team that's quarterback hungry, potentially he's going to be a camp guy that shows up undrafted and gets his shot in preseason. And who knows, maybe he's.
I was going to say, he's going to fit well as Mac Jones's backup in New England. That is, like, if you ask me for my exact fit for him, that's where it is.
I think funny. He'd be the second Western Kentucky quarterback to back up Mac Jones.
Well, the issue is Bailey Zappi's been cut and put on the practice squad.
Yeah. But that's my point. He'd be the second guy to fill the role.
Yeah. I get you.
And, he's Bailey Zappi, Mike White 3.0. I'll buy that. Oh, my God. My computer's finally working. Next up, we have safety from SIU, PJ Jules.
Who had a hell of a game, by the way. I'm sorry. If you're looking at our stats here, you can only see, like, what his current season stats are. He's nearly doubled, if not tripled, most of his stat line. So he came into this game with only 3 passes defensed. He left with 6. I think he had 7 solos and I want to say 11 assisted. And he left this game with, in this game, 4 assisted and 4 solo and 10 assisted, I believe. I need to go look at the game stats, but PJ Jules went off in this game based on the stats that I had been looking at.
Yeah, FCS stats are very hard to come by.
Those were off of ESPN. I will caveat with that.
Yeah, he had a career high 15 tackles and 3 pass breakups in this game. That is huge, and that is a big reason why SIU was able to hold off the Redhawks this year. I'm interested to see if the legacy of Jeremy Chin and what he's been able to do in Carolina is going to help elevate his draft stock as well. It's not so much a conversation now, but there was a 3-4 year span where there was always a running back from Memphis getting taken just because of what they were producing at the college level. And you've got 3 of them still in the league today.
No, absolutely.
Ironically, they're all in the same fucking division too, in the NFC East. Weird. But I am curious to see if there's going to be some type of Jeremy Chin effect, and if PJ Jules is able to go play at the NFL level, which I think if he continues on this track, he'll definitely get some sort of shot. If he's able to play at that higher level, what will this do for future defensive players coming out of Southern Illinois?
Yep. No, and it can only be good. It can only improve from where it was, which is absolutely insane to think about.
Absolutely. But, that's pretty much all we got here. Again, very short with Tug traveling, myself, sleeping for my shift, sleeping during the day. We didn't have any extra games to say, hey, look at this. Look at what we found. These were good games too. But we still got plenty to talk about. And we will have picks. We will have games. Doug will still participate in that aspect. We'll represent his picks well. However, that's all I got for today. Unless you got anything else, Doug. I know we got some.
I was going to say, the only thing I get to add is some linkage. We got patreon.com/BTFootball, x.com/BTFootball, facebook.com/BTFootball, instagram.com/BT_football, BDTfootball.com, mailbox at BDTfootball.com, youtube.com/@BigDudesInTheTrenches. Our Discord will be linked in the description below, as will everything else. If you have any questions, guys, please just reach out to any of us at any point, and I'm sure we will happily respond to you. Bug, what you got before I take us on out of here?
Hey, is butt cheeks one word, or should I spread them apart?
Oh, God. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, that's clearly all the time we have on the show today. Thank you for watching and or listening. And just remember, you can't win a game. You can't win a